come in for landing.
I'm letting Rob know to get a slide here.
Are you gonna be up in the air during the,
No, we canceled our trips.
you can't go up during the,
Yes, we can, but it's a mess.
They're expecting like 150 there.
They came and told us like, you might get out.
Okay, we're live.
Peter,
Call this meeting of the Huntingburg Common Council. Lord. Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag
Pledge of allegiance to the flag.
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, thank you for the service of these council members here, and the elected officials and those others that are serving in the room this evening. I ask that we go on this meeting that you may open our minds, open our hearts, so that we realize that we are here to serve this community and we serve it well. These things we ask you. So, thank you. All right, first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Everybody had a chance to review those.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Got a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Claims have been submitted, presented. Do I hear a motion to accept claims?
Make a motion to accept the claims.
First, we have a second.
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilperson Bolte. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Don't have a lot on the agenda today, but I guess the big news over the next couple of weeks is going to be the solar eclipse. Thank you. It's called lunar eclipse and solar eclipse. How many times have we heard that over the last year? I've been, a year and a half ago, I was asked to be on the state committee. I thought, why are we starting now planning this? Now it's like 2 weeks away and we're all scrambling, but I'll let you know that we do have a safety plan in place for all of our departments and reaction. Most city employees will be off work that day, with the exception of our police officers will all be available. We will have through our utility departments, people available to respond to emergencies. Our office will call civil emergency on that day to allow our office workers to be able to leave prior to any traffic that may hit. So be leaving at noon. Tom and I kind of covered that with our own employees and processes and making that happen. But there is a plan. Also, Chief Hines put together a emergency response plan for the airport or any other areas where there may be issues. Just let everybody know that we've had literally hundreds of hours of meetings with local Destination Huntingburg, local sort of close people, local merchants to make sure that we have our biggest concern with the city is that we just have a safe day. So people ask, what are the city doing? We've been doing a lot since January during the planning, as well as the chief Hine, Chief Parks, and myself have sat in the emergency management meetings with the county to make sure that we're in agreement. Have any questions? It is a ticket event at the airport. I'm hearing anything from 50 to 60 is what I heard this morning. Extra airplanes that could be flying in that day, maybe upwards to 100, depending on where the weather is. We'll know because it is a ticket event. Who has tickets? Who doesn't? We'll probably know about a week ahead of time. Encourage everybody to be safe and attend the events that we have. We will be sending out a notice on safety to the general public. I have nothing else. Energy Superintendent John Ruepoler.
Council. Start out with the gas department. Added another service. We had one on file when they're ready to be hooked up. And our crew did replace a damaged service line that was found by one of the contractors. They were putting in a sewer. They didn't do the damage. They're down the damage a long time ago and wasn't turned in. So we ended up cutting it off the main and running plastic service to the house. So, good thing they called. It's still in service, but it's kinked up pretty good. And then, we did finish up our inspections on critical valves on our system. The inline with the critical valves were, make sure they're free of debris. And the crews did install 135 smart points. That's just the modules that are on the gas meters. And we replaced 30 of the old meters. As you can see, total number of meters and how many we got changed over to census, which goes to the cloud. So we're making good progress there. And they did repair a gas leak on First Street by the Dollar General store. I think Donnie Heim or somebody got called there. Took our locators there. We found some gas coming out of the storm sewer. So after doing some inspections and tracked it down to an old service line that went to the house where the Dollar General sit. Got cut off years ago. What they did, they just screwed a cap on the end of the service line. Over time, it started leaking. So we had to dig up to the main. We took the cap off. We screwed it down to stop the flow of gas. We cut it off right there by the main, that's service line. And we welded a cap on it and got it back, turned it back on. So that's kind of a minor one. Then we were changing some meters out by co-op. So I think Glenn, you're right by the alley there, by the co-op, behind the co-op. Once again, they're changing some meters out and you got a smell of gas. They did some inspections. They found, once again, strong odor coming out of the storm sewer close to where the gas main was. So we dug down, as you can see in picture 1. That was the area we had to dig up. There's a 6-inch line that runs in the alley behind the co-op. Low pressure, 6-inch main. There's a 2-inch steel main tied into that went toward the highway. So we figured it was that tap that was screwed into the 6-inch main. But once we took all the asphalt off, we found an old valve that's been covered up for years. It was like 10 inches under the surface. So when we dug it up, found that. Like I say, in picture 1, what our welder was welding on a line stopper on the 6-inch. And then you can see toward the bottom of the picture, the old 2-inch line. Picture 2, you can see the apparatus, the machine we got to put on the 6-inch. What that does, that drills a hole in the 6-inch. After we weld the line stopper on, the drill drills out the pipe. It runs a big rubber plug down there to stop it off. On the south side of the co-op, there's a valve. We turn the valve to stop the flow of gas. So once that's all done, we cut out the old picture number 3. We cut out the old 2-inch. As you can see, it's a bolt-on flange valve. What happens, there's a gasket between there. Over time, that rot gets deteriorate where it starts leaking. That's why they're no longer allowed to be in the ground. It's all got to be welded. We actually tighten them nuts to help slow the leak down. Got that done. Picture 4 is the finished product. You can see we had to weld the repair plant, which is big, looks like a big piece where the old valve was. And we had to cap off or run the line stopper down, and then we had to reroute the 2-inch steel. So you see it's quite an operation. And it took a while to do. So got her all done, filled her all back up. Hopefully don't have to worry about it anymore. And that's about it on the gas. Any questions? Go to the electric side. We spent 3 days of clearing trees away from the electric lines. And then the crews set a lot of poles last month. See, we set 3 40-foot poles on Orange or Sunset Drive for the Orange County Fiber Company. That was, we got reimbursed for the labor and poles and everything we had to do there. And we set 6 new poles on a private lane south of town. We have some customers and poles are getting old, short, getting rotten. And we set 9 poles on County Road 900. That's just west of the airport. Down that road, we just have customers. They're, like I say, once again, real old copper wire, short, old poles. Actually, the line's been hit a couple times by combines going in the fields. So we decided to rebuild that line. And then we did set 3 new ductile iron poles on the main line on North Van Buren Street. And once again, them poles were from the 80s, getting rotten at the bottom. That all done. Work still continues on our pole audits. I think we're halfway done now. So that's a good thing. Now I do have a quote for wooden poles. You can see all the poles we set last month, plus all the poles that Perry Spencer, Orange County set on our system that were reimbursed. But now it kind of run our stock low. Down at the yard, you can see I got 3 companies which set quotes out. You can see Brown Wood has the lowest quote out of the 3. Lead time is getting pretty short now because I think nationwide this broadband project, I think all the fiber companies are pretty well getting their main trunk lines in. So the availability of the poles is getting better. Price hasn't come down, but the lead time's getting shorter. So
They don't follow them.
that's just, as I say, the last year or 2. Like I say, we've been reimbursed for a lot of the wooden poles that have been set. But like I said, our stock is getting low. So I'd like to get approval for poles.
What is? Can you do
Yes.
question? Why, the iron poles as opposed to the wooden poles, like what makes that decision as to? Is it because of the life of them, or what is the life of each one of them?
Life of the,
Like the life of a wooden pole as opposed to the iron ones, are we gonna move towards doing all iron?
No,
ones, or No,
no. Wooden poles, 30, 40 years. Kind of depends on the ground conditions. Another big enemy of the wooden poles is woodpeckers. We see a lot of damage by woodpeckers on the top of our wooden poles. Over time, when they hollow out the top of the pole, it makes it weak. Like I say, they're less expensive, but on our non-critical poles, we usually use wood. We want to use wood due to the cost. And down our secondary, single phase lines, we'll use wooden poles. And out toward the St. Henry area, out toward the company, it's a lot of the wooden poles there. And you can see what the freight is. That's two loads of poles, what the freight is, if you. And it's the cost is on there. Cost, freight is very expensive, it's like. Go in, see, do you know the cost of freight? Not cheap.
No, very expensive. Yeah, it's pretty expensive. This is pretty good. You'll need a approval to go with the Brownwood. That's the one you want to go with?
That's the cheapest.
That's the one you want to go with?
Yeah, we've had them before.
Two different questions here.
We've gone with them before. We're real good. We've had good luck.
No, yeah, as long as you get good quality. So.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a few bucks apart, but the bottom one is, yeah, it's almost double. So they didn't really want to sell you.
Except Brownwood.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the poles from Brownwood.
I'll second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, John.
That's the wooden poles.
We'll make a note on that. You found many poles in our city that are 50 and 60 years old.
Yeah.
That are still that were still in service.
We got two of our main line poles. We're just looking at today, they're rotting at the bottom. They're from 84.
Yeah.
And they're on our main line, so we gotta get them scheduled to get them replaced. One's down by City Park and one's out by Whole Equipment.
Yeah.
So,
The metal poles, the ductile iron, where they take a little more stress, though, don't they? They don't
they're
fit-
rated at 120 mile an hour on normal wind load. Depends on what all you got on the pole, all your communication lines and three-phase lines and cross arms versus post insulators. It all affects the wind load. But they're rated at 120 the ductile iron poles for normal wood pole. 70, 80 mile an hour winds.
What's the price here?
You put a ductile iron down by her house in the field, didn't you?
Yep.
Recently.
That's
Or outside.
There's a lot of load.
I was on pins and needles.
another. Steel pole,
Neat.
the ductile iron pole is a separate.
Yeah, we need to talk about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's down by Pam's house. One pole there around the corner on 17th Street.
I think that big storm.
It was
that-
rotten at the bottom.
Yeah.
Them are all 84, 86 poles, 1986. And the ones they sit in the ditch was a ductile iron, but that's always wet there. And it's a main line pole, so we decided to go with two ductile irons there. That ditch is hardly ever dry, and they tried to, when they augered it out, it's just mud. So a wooden pole would be, over time, decided it'd be best to go with a ductile iron pole there.
Poles replaced are probably pentachlorine treated too. These are the new, aren't they?
Oh, the what?
The new poles are CCA.
DCOI
CCA.
to replace the pentachlorophenol.
Right, penance. What they used to use.
Yeah.
That's what's at the bottom of the ground, the bottom pole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're all DCOI treated now,
Yeah.
which made the cost go up.
Yeah.
So,
So anyway, moving on to the ductile iron poles.
right,
This is a little more in depth. As you can see on the quote, I got two 110 footers. And I got 16 45 footers. Started out. The 110 footers, which we don't have a truck to set them. This is going to the gas department. With all our meters, we're changing out to census. All the census meters we have over in Ireland area and Ireland and west of Ireland. We have meters west out by Lake Helmer, where the radio signal is not getting sent over here. We had census come in and do a study. Said we need to put these tall poles over in the Ireland area, out toward Lake Helmer. Mount an antenna on it to get the signals back to our control center or the office here, so to speak. So we checked around, did some checking versus a tripod
Alan,
tower.
but that's a
Two tripod towers with the labor and everything would be like $200,000. So I checked with the company. Once, like a wooden pole or something, you'd have to guy wires down. There's not room where we need to put these. So I got with this company here. Got with them. Got with the antenna people. Because you're gonna have some sway. But said the antennas will still work properly with some sway in it. So to set these 110 foot poles, they come in two sections. You got a jack them together when you get them to on site. They come in two sections. You jack them together. And then you can set them. They're 3 foot, you need a 3 foot auger. Set to you. And it weighs like 8,000 pounds. So I had to get with IMPA. And they got the construction crew, their own construction crew. And they got the trucks and the bucket trucks to do it. Talked with them when I had a IMPA meeting up there the other month. So there'd be no problem for them to come down and set them. So I worked with them. So when I talked to the company that sells these, there was only one company that does sell these, that we get them from. The trucking rate would be the same if we just order them 210s or full truckload. The freight would be the same.
Who uses the same truck?
So being that said, so well, I'm gonna get a quote on a full truckload to make a full truck. So we added 16 45 footers. With 45 footers, let's say, Pam, we set them in our main feeder, our main lines in through town. We got them spread out pretty well throughout town. Because like I say, they hold up better in the storms. And with the crew our size, it's very critical that, if that pole would go down, if we set a wooden pole there, it'd go down. More than likely, there's gonna be a large scale outage for a long time. It's gonna take a long time to get it back up and going. So it's just strengthening our system, making our system stronger.
I will say, you guys do a fantastic job. I've lived other places and power outages.
Yeah.
It's like here, it's just, I have been nothing but impressed with our electric companies. You guys are doing a great job.
Like last night, we had them windstorms come through. We just had a short outage for the water plant. We had a top of a tree come out, tore a line down, the lake dam. So we were out at 2 a.m, putting it back in service. We didn't bust the poles, we just broke the lines. But otherwise, we didn't have really no other issues, which is good. Like I say, with the small crew we got, them poles staying up is very critical to prevent a large scale outage for a very long time. So, if you want to go with a truckload or just a 210 footers,
Utilize the freight.
pardon?
Go ahead and utilize the freight.
Yeah, you're
I'd use it.
kind of said your freight's gonna be the same. I'd hate to pay that much just to have 2 poles delivered. Like I say, these poles, they're gonna last 100 years. They're good up to 120-mile-an-hour winds. That's very critical. Like I say, when we go to set a pole, we decide if it's gonna be a critical pole or just an inline pole where a wooden pole is gonna do, or critical poles. Sometimes we want to put a ductile iron pole there. It just makes your system stronger.
We have a use agreement with IMPA on stuff like that as far as a raid or something, or whatever they do.
Actually, I just got a new contract I gotta get with them.
But I mean, if we ever have a problem in the future and with this and we can't reach it, they can always be.
Yeah.
Brought back in
They're
for.
pretty good to work with. And since we're part of them, we're not gonna stick it to you when you need them.
I was thinking bucket truck to reach 100-foot pole is gonna be a big buzz.
Our trucks are 55, 50,
Yeah.
the bottom of the bucket. But we took our truck out there and we can only reach the middle phase on our tall poles. We stand right underneath it, go straight up. We can just reach the middle phase.
Yeah, that's like, aren't they out here by the disc golf on those? Are
The
those,
ones on the north side of ours.
yeah, I mean, those are pretty big.
Actually, ISC, the IMPA's construction crew,
Yeah.
they did come down and replace one of them 90 footers when it broke. Due to the wind a few years ago,
Yeah.
they come down and replaced it. They brought the pole down, wooden pole, and replaced it. That's pretty reasonable price since we're a member of IMPA.
I mean, since there's only one available, we don't have to take the other one. I'd like to make a motion to allow John to accept the bid from, From Brownstown Electric.
Yep.
For a whole load.
A second.
Got a first and second, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carries.
Okay, and the final thing is, we got a call from company, we bought a truck, got a truck ordered, a big bucket truck. It's scheduled to be on the assembly line August of 25. So,
25. Maybe.
so
Still don't have a price.
still don't have a price. But it is scheduled to go in production August of 25.
Not a chassis either.
Glenn knows that is when ordering fire trucks. But I did get a confirmation, they got it slotted in,
And it's about 12 months on transformers.
yeah, year on, yeah. 12 months on transformers. I just checked with them. We called them a couple days ago. With both our suppliers are both a year out on single phase pad mount transformers. Very expensive, yeah. So one transformer before the pandemic was the size we need was, well, say 5,000-6,000, now 20,000.
Yep.
And a year to get. So,
You can't get them.
so, just gotta deal with it.
Thank you.
Any questions on the electric?
I got one about your towers for your antennas that you need. I mean, would the consideration that tower in Steinkamp's lot be high enough to reach over there in Ireland? Is that something considered or?
With the rent fee on the,
So it's an AT&T tower, they're gonna charge you.
yeah, and then plus you gotta have your own electric meter. Where both places where we're gonna put them, we already have an electric meter there.
Okay.
Plus it will own the pole and we're gonna run our own electric to it.
All right.
Yeah, these cell phone towers are gonna.
It's more like
They're not gonna let you
that tower,
just
the
go
tower
find
you're
their
talking
tower.
about, we've got an antenna on that west tank that sits almost as high as that tower.
Really?
So yeah, what he's looking at is repeaters,
Yeah,
so they repeat
Coming
back
back in.
and forth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you.
for that price,
Sure.
How far is your water, your farthest water customer isn't near that far?
No, we stop, we've got a few of them, out by Phoenix and Chestnuts, about as far north as we go.
Right.
And then
it's
as
got-
far west is Cherry Street, or sorry, far east is Cherry Street, farthest west would be roughly the water treatment plant and then, Sunset Drive.
We have significant customers in the Ireland area. I mean, we have,
you get customers probably
Oh, yeah,
half a mile north of the church over
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
there. You got some from Highway 56, going past the John Deere dealership.
Yeah.
All the way to the Pike County line.
it's pretty far.
Interesting. Good deal.
So it's far over it. All right, any other questions?
Thanks, John.
Hey,
Good job.
Thank you.
Job. Okay, we have Water Superintendent Jerry Austin.
Good afternoon. We'll jump in with our distribution department. We had a failed valve at Sixth Street in Jackson, where the last water main break we had there, when we had to turn that water main down. There actually, the operating nut on that valve broke while operating the valve itself, so it failed closed. We had to order parts in. Once the parts came in, we dug the valve up and were able to replace just the valve stem. I included a picture there with it, to kind of show where it broke off. There's not really much there to look at.
That's a new valve?
It's not a new valve. No, it was an early 90s valve that was put in there. And you can tell on that valve, on that picture, that all the bolts that are in that bonnet, whenever they produced those valves, they didn't use stainless steel hardware. So anytime we dig up a valve, we take those bolts out one by one and replace them with stainless, so we don't have any issues with them rotting off. That's more of our issues with our valves in our system, is the bolts rotting off and those bonnets leaking. And whenever that happens, it usually blows the O-ring seal out. And we usually end up having to go 2 to 3 blocks out and shut everybody's water off to get that gasket back in there due to the water pressure that's blowing out of those valves. So anytime we dig one up, we automatically replace the bolts on them. And after we got the valve stem and bolts replaced, we didn't have to have any outage with that. We did have to go back later that week and poured concrete there at Jackson and Sixth Street, once that valve was replaced. And then we had our east water tower, the overflow catch basin that catches all the water if the water tower would ever overflow. It was laid in block when that water tower was installed. A couple of the blocks had deteriorated and fell apart. We had some dirt pushing in there. So we dug that out. It was roughly a 4x4 by 4 foot deep square. Got all that taken care of and poured new walls for that. And then with the help of John's electric department, we had a few dead trees that were around some electric lines, kind of tangled up in them out at the boat ramp. We've been slowly getting those out. We removed quite a few of them last year, and then it got into wet season, and we just hadn't got time to do it until this past week. So we do have a lot of dead trees out there. As John said, we had another one take a power line out this last night for this morning with the windstorms. As we get time, we're always removing trees out there. We're not taking anything that's alive. It's all dead. I know there's a lot of concern. Yep, a lot of ash trees, ash and pine. To my understanding, what I was told was that area had dirt filled in. They brought the dirt up about 2 foot on the trees. So that's what we're kind of figuring is killing them out there, is the fact that the root system's so buried. We did time flies. 3 years ago, we did use a DNR program. We ordered 750 trees, all hardwood trees from the DNR, and planted those out there. They're taking off well. Kind of surprising how tall they're getting already. But we have planted 700 trees around the lake to help take care of the ones that we're losing. Other than that, we got all that cleaned up, and then kind of getting all of our small engines serviced that time of year for us to do that. And then we did go out and help the street department seed and straw the new shooting range at the airport. Had some rain coming in whenever they were trying to get that done, so we went out there and kind of all hands on deck to get that done before the rain came in. We also, after I typed this up, we did everybody at the water department, distribution and filter plant attend a water conference at French Lick. We do it twice a year. It's for our continuing education hours. We have to hold so many hours every 3 years to keep our license in good standing with IDEM. And then from there, we moved to the water filtration plant. We did have an effluent pump in our sludge basins went down. We were able to remove it. It was rebuildable, so we got it rebuilt and back installed in service. A good thing with that, whenever the water plant was upgraded, everything has redundancy. So we had a pump to back up whenever that one was out and being rebuilt. From there, we moved to our metering system. We have finally started getting some large diameter meters in. We're about almost 7 months from when we ordered them. We've received 4 out of the 22 that we ordered about 7 months ago. So they promise that they'll still continue to trickle in. So we'll still be changing out the water meters there in our mainly our commercial industries. And then something that I didn't include on here, something that we've been doing every day since last March. So it just becomes an everyday thing and we don't really talk about it a whole lot. Our lead and copper survey that we've been doing. We've been working on that since last March. We've got roughly a total of 3,600 services in town. We have verified out of those 3,600 that 3,079 services are either copper or poly. We do have 497 services still unknown. We will continue to pothole those daily, and we do have 24 confirmed lead service lines. So we're working very diligently getting that done. We couldn't do it without the the equipment that we have. You guys allowing us to pull a hydro excavator in last year at March has been an amazing tool for us. It currently has 272 hours on it in a year's time. So we're really racking up the hours on that machine.
What is the deadline to get those?
So October 24th or October 16th of 2024 is the deadline to have our survey in. IDEM has put out an update to the rule revision where we don't have to know everything. It's gotten to be where it's impossible. There's a lot of communities that they don't, I mean, there's
So they-
2 guys and a shovel. I'm stretching that a little bit, There's-
I'd say they probably they could get the information.
Right. but they're allowing there to be the unknowns in that inventory with, they'll put it out in the future where you have to have a certain percentage of those done every year and be able to prove that you're doing those. So we,
We're in good
Sorry?
shape.
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, out of, they said 3,600, we've got, I mean, 3,079 of them taken care of, and our unknowns versus our lead runs about, I would say, roughly maybe 3%. Trying to do that in my head.
What's your protocol now when you, what's the turnaround time on it when you locate a lead line? I mean, are
So
you scheduling them
if we do work in that area,
3 weeks from that?
we
date of
replace it
finding?
automatically, with this. As we find them, of course, we're locating them, but we're continuing to do our survey. Just due to the deadline with it, and then once that's there, we can look into, there is some grant funding there. A lot of that grant funding requires us to hire that service out to certain contractors. So it kind of catch-22. We can usually do it cheaper than we can pay somebody to do it, and it's always a matched grant, so it's money that we have to match anyways. But we, unless we're working in that area, we don't disturb it and move on to continue our survey. As soon as our survey is complete, though, we'll be out there right away to get those replaced.
You might have addressed this before, but people have asked me, is it possible, do you have to dig up the surface line, or can't you tell from where the surface line enters the home, whether it's copper, lead, or?
Well, so with that, with digging up the street, we try to go roughly a foot away from the main so we don't disturb the corpse stop. If we blow that, it's kind of like a shell that builds up around that metal. And if we disturb that, sometimes those corporation stops will blow out. And sometimes they blow out that day, sometimes it's a week later if you disturb that. So a lot of back in the 80s and 70s, when they were replacing service lines, they would leave the lead neck coming out of the water main and then turn it to copper. So we have to visually inspect that and make sure there's no lead there. Once we mark these to where there is no lead, IDM sends us every 3 years, we do 20 random samples through our system. Once we mark them as no lead, they send us a sample bottle. If we would send them a sample and it would contain lead, we would be in violation then, especially if we dug it up and we do find lead.
Or you do it right?
So yes, yeah,
There's probably lots of unknown splices from contractors
There-
over the years and
there
sidewalk
is.
jobs and whatever.
Yeah. there is, and that's, so the city has always had their ordinance up until 3 years ago when we switched to poly versus copper. We've always set meters on copper whips. So everything on each side of the meter pit, 6 foot out, is copper. So a lot of times those meter pits set in between the road and sidewalks. Sometimes they set further off, but usually you can't get past that 6 foot mark without getting out in the road anyways. Also, the city used to use curb stops. So a lot of times they'll run lead to the curb stop and then transfer from the lead to copper from the curb stop to the meter pit. Over the years, the roads have widened, so a lot of those curb stops are actually in the pavement themselves. We don't find those until the street department's doing work or something like that. So we try our best. We work with the street department. Anytime, we hit a street, we always, the streets they're repaving, we hit those first. So anytime Jason's got new streets on his list, we do those right away. That way we're not core draining holes in new pavement. But other than that, this is pretty much how every other community is attacking this.
Is there a pattern like where the 24 leaded lines are?
There's not.
Are they just sporadically,
Yes, sir.
find one here and there?
There's a lot more in like the older parts of town.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would think if you hit 4 coppers,
Yeah.
the next 3 gotta be good.
Yeah.
And you do the next one, it's lead. It really is. but
No. No rhyme or reason.
No. no,
But we have determined, we have no, these are only service lines. We don't have any main lines or anything like that.
there are some water mains in the town that are lead jointed. Before they made a gasketed joint pipe, the pipe was put together and the lead was poured in on the joint. They don't have any rule revisions for that yet. You know, there's always a possibility. I hope not.
How you find?
Well, yeah, that's been done like that for years. That would be very hard to sit down and figure out, you know, we keep good records now, but back when that stuff was put in the, you know, the sixties and seventies and those paper records
I
are,
don't think that's old enough.
yeah.
John found a valve in the alley in the co-op, probably
Yeah.
put it in,
Back in Phil's day.
yeah.
Oh, man. Shots fired.
But I mean, that's just a good example. I mean, they've kept very detailed records for many
They have.
years.
Yep.
And they don't know nothing about it.
Right.
So we find one of those, you probably find about 1 or 2 a year like that.
Oh, yeah.
When we do a paving job or something blows up and
Mhm.
as far as like a water main breaks and you're like, you dig something up, you're like, well, we didn't know that was there.
Right.
You know, because it's just, you know,
Yeah, we find it all the time. Services that were left. You know, street department found 3 abandoned services out there behind Hope Equipment by Pam's house. Those houses were tore down. They just pulled the meter out of them and buried everything in dirt. Luckily, all of them that they hit, they just crimped and didn't pull it out of the main. So we were able to go out there and dig up the main and take them off the main in a controlled environment and get them out of the ground. So they're not a issue anymore. But,
Lots of exciting things going on by me.
right, yeah. That's for sure. Other than that, the only other thing that water does have going on that I didn't have in there that we just started this week is our spring hydrant flushing. I know it was shared on Facebook, shared on the city website. We didn't start that Monday. We are continuing to run a 2-man crew doing our lead and copper survey. While we've got 2 more crews out doing hydrant flushing. In the springtime, we turn every valve in our system. So we exercise valves once a year, and then in the fall, we take our pressure readings for ISO audits. It helps out great for the insurance and for the fire department, and it's something that helps us tremendously. There's a lot of communities that don't turn valves. They don't flush hydrants, and thankfully we do. And anytime we do have a water main break and we do need to shut something down or turn it down, we are able to do that. It also, with flushing hydrants, whenever you pull that water through those mains, we roughly have hydrants set every 500 feet. Most hydrants will flow anywhere from 1,000 to 1,400 gallon per minute. So anytime we can open that hydrant up and flow that water through there like that, it rips all the mineral deposits out of the water main, which in return gives us better water quality. It helps with the lifespan of our metallic water mains, and it's really good for the system. So I know it's a bear for the community sometimes with creating a little dirt. You know, if you do have dirt in your lines, you know, we hate that, but if you let the cold water run just for a little bit, it'll clean right up. And you'll be back to normal. Other than that, that's all I have.
Do you have any new mains planned for this?
We do actually. So Jason, the street department, they've got a community crossing grant for 8th Street from Jackson to Van Buren. So I'm actually waiting on quotes for that right now. I believe that water main will probably be under the $10,000 mark. So as soon as we get quotes back, if there's one under $10,000, we're going to jump on it. I'd like to get started on that as soon as we're done flushing. Just for the fact that community crossing grant does have a deadline. So other than that, as far as water mains with the community crossing grant, that's our most important right now. We want to get that out of the way. We are focusing really hard on this lead and copper survey. So I would like to see, all the way up until 2 years ago, we hadn't replaced any water main in town for approximately 5 years. 2 years ago was the first year after our plant upgrade and everything with our finances, we were able to replace, one block of water main there at Hickory Drive. And then, last year in 2023, we replaced the 3 blocks on Second Street from Main to Washington and installed the 680 feet of water main out there at, East Sunset Drive. So that's our goal, is to replace at least 2 to 3 blocks, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 foot of water main a year to get us back on track with our infrastructure.
Great.
But that, as of now, verbally, that's the one I'd like to give out to the public. We have a
There you
list.
go.
We have a list of water mains that, I can give you a list for the next 10 years,
Yeah.
but they do constantly change.
Yeah.
We could have one water main that's on the top of our list due to the shape that it's in, and 3 weeks from now, especially with flushing season, it tends to show our weak spots in our water mains, and we could have one that was 20 down, jump up to number 1. So, but we do have a working plan for that.
Very well.
So,
Good job. Thanks.
all right, thank you.
Thanks. City Attorney Phil Schneider. Nothing. Have nothing. Clerk Treasurer Tom Stibble. Nope, nothing. Any other items, council items? Nothing out here. One thing I just kind of remiss bring up, will tell you, I've had, some contact with the new owners of the hospital. They'll be starting, some work outside. You should see some noticeable improvements where they're redoing the landscaping, paving the parking lot, and doing some other appearances to the outside of the building. So several $100,000 put into that area. And likewise, that they will be even paving a little section in front of the building that the city owns out there right now.
So that deal's gone through, then it's
Yeah,
finalized.
everything's finalized. So,
About a week ago.
well, hopefully, as more happens, we'll keep everybody informed, but that's what we know now. It's back on the tax rolls, everything else. So, I think utility department's been out there so far to, but they'll be up and running. They have an elevator fix and parking lots to take care of. But it's exciting. Let's just say it's exciting. What's happening. It's been a long time, and there's a lot of money behind it. So it's very good. All right. Do I hear a motion to? Oh,
Most to adjourn, no,
there's somebody. Okay.
most to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We call this meeting of the common council adjournment at 6:18.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good.
The sidewalks are going in on Chestnut, that's like,
Yeah, it's awesome.
in the park.
All right.